What's going on, everybody? I figured I would watch this. It's Exodus Founders Q&A video. I'm pretty excited about this game. If you're a Mass Effect fan, you should be very excited about it because a lot of these developers were the original developers of the original trilogy of Mass Effect, not Andromeda. Some of them might have worked on Andromeda. I could be wrong, but I think these are the guys from the original trilogy and girls. Not just say guys, but yeah, but Also, another Mass Effect-like game coming out, if you're into those type games, is the Owlcat Studios Expanse game. I think that's going to be a really cool game too. I'm not positive, but I think both are releasing in 2026. I could be wrong about the Expanse one. Not positive, but yeah. So let's watch this, and I'll let you know my thoughts about it. Archetype Entertainment Founders Q&A, October
Hey everyone, welcome
2025.
back to another episode of our Founders Q&A. You've been sending us some amazing questions and we're excited to get answers to all of them for you. I've got a new guest to share with you to help answer those questions that you've sent in. Chris, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Archetype?
Hey y'all, I'm Chris King. I'm the game director on Exodus. Super excited to answer some of your questions today.
Okay.
Obviously, one that comes up all the time is Mass Effect. We obviously share some DNA. The epic
Right.
space opera, the mega choices that carry over from game to game.
Talked about that.
Combat, we have a lot of stuff come up. Mass Effect, Horizon is
Horizon.
probably another one that we've drawn
Okay.
some inspiration from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with Horizon, there was, without revealing too much, there's some pieces that Chris and the team have pulled in that we think sort of that elemental aspect of combat where you've got to make decisions based on the
okay.
construction
I
of the
can
things that
kinda
you're
see
fighting
what they're
and be
talking
smart about the
in a
tools
way.
that you use against it. There's some cool things that we think we've pulled in from that.
One of the ones I reference a lot of times is
see
Metroid
the
or
Horizon
Metroid
reference in
Prime.
that right
One of the
there.
things that really resonates is just like
That shot they showed
the exploration, hopping on a
video.
spaceship, kind of being
Wait.
out in the middle of nowhere. I kind of like the loneliness in that game. It just makes the environments really interesting. Probably one of the other ones we can do a little tease on there is we have a lot of barriers or things, obstacles, I guess I'll call them, that you run around in the world and that you need sort of celestial tech or abilities and whatnot to get past. So I think that's a great inspiration. This is actually kind of a hard one to answer because we have so many different tools and we've drawn inspiration from so many different places. One of the things we honed in early on was kind of this notion of if you're going into space,
God, that looks
there's only so
incredible.
much stuff you
Look
can
at that
take
ship.
with you. So one of the things we kind of dug into was like,
Did you
what
see
is a
that,
traveler's Swiss Army knife? It's kind of the same
that
notion of like
explosion?
how could you sort of have this level of utility if you're traveling in space? So there's a bunch of cool ideas, and I think when you play the game, you'll sort of see how that manifests. But probably one of the coolest ones that I think we came up was the recycler. So this is the base gun that salvagers use. You can kind of scavenge, and the whole notion of this thing is you don't need to carry a bunch of ammo. It's sort of like the flux capacitor from
So 88
Back to the
miles
Future.
per
You know, you
hour
can
and we
kind
go
of
to the
pick up
future?
any scrap material, slap it in there, and it'll craft different
okay.
resources.
I don't
And then
see
we
how
kind
that's
of
like
riffed
the
on that
flux
of like, well, what
capacitor,
if
but
this thing
alright.
transformed too? So now I've just got one gun that does everything. So I think that's a really good example.
That bear, the armored bear, I can't think of the show. It's an HBO show. Is it gosh, it's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't think about it. But if you know what I'm talking about, list in the comments. If you've watched the show, you'll know that armored bear they just show, and those I think we'll probably see it again because they've shown that footage a lot. But if we don't, rewind, look at the bear, the armored bear. There's a show with the girl and her father, and like they all have a animal they talk to. The girls is like I can't think of what it is, but her father's is like a leopard, I do believe. Yes, it's a leopard. Well, there's armor, there's bears that have armor and like I'm just wondering, was that inspiration? Was that show some inspiration for those bears that they just, that they've shown off in just about every clip? Not every clip, but every trailer.
Of where we kind of used like this really weird inspiration of a Swiss Army knife and tried to come up with this cool way to sort of contextualize that in our sci-fi universe. Yes, we do support stealth. Philosophically, one of the things we love about RPGs
Not a
is
big
it's all about
stealth guy.
making really
to
meaningful
blow
player
stuff up.
choices, and so that extends into combat and gameplay as well. The hope, if we've done our jobs well, is let's say Chad and I go home and we both play the game. I might come back and I say, hey, I defeated this encounter and I went through all stealthy style, and Chad might go, what? I shot everyone in the face or whatever.
That's
and then
me.
you might have a third person that says, I didn't even engage in the combat because I talked to this other guy and it didn't happen or whatever. So those are the kind of water cooler moments we're going for, and we're trying to support different play styles. Yes, we support stealth. We have a couple companions dedicated to stealth. We have a whole bunch of cool
I mean, that's
toys
good
in the
and all
player
for,
kit
you know, the
dedicated to
people that really
stealth.
like stealth and
We
stuff.
have really cool Aegis suits dedicated to stealth. But at the end of the day, if you're not into stealth, you don't really have to partake in any of that
That's what I'm
stuff. It's
talking
all
about.
optional.
I mean, I'll do some stealth, you know, just to check it out, see what it's like, but it's not my
Yeah, the
cup
core
tea
of the
again.
game is just, or one of the cores of the game is built around pursuing ancient celestial technology, what we call
Right.
remnants. And yeah, June's seeking these out throughout the game to help her save her homeworld. And she's gonna have to make some tough decisions with them. So the morally questionable
male or
aspect of the
female?
question is a really relevant
Well,
one, but
that's
it's more
just about
about
any
how she
RPG
uses them
online.
and who she uses them with versus the actual technology themselves. Yeah, so there is a bit of moral complexity with remnants, but in most cases, it's less about the technology and more about June's choices as it relates to their outcomes and the way that she wants to leverage them in the play experience.
You know, we've tried to make the choices of what you do with them really, really complicated. So when we talk about these weighty choices that have like huge consequences, these are the biggest decider for that. So a lot of times you're not just weighing the morality of the choice, you're also weighing what the companions want you to do with them, and they don't agree on these things. You're weighing what the best way you want to progress humanity hundreds of years into the future is, but the people might not like some of those things. So these are really, really complicated choices. You know, they're kind of those like put the controller down and sort of ponder what you're going to do a little bit.
All right, so rapid fire, just one. You only get one shot. Name your favorite remnant, but you can't talk about what it is. Just say the title of it.
Relativistic Predator.
Oh, you pronounced it so perfectly too. So good.
Sure about
All right, I get two because I
Didn't
asked the
sound
question. So
perfect.
Protomatter for sure. Once you play the game, you'll understand that one. The second though is Hell of Liquid Walls.
Hell of
Nice
liquid
choice,
walls.
nice.
Okay. Good
It comes
question.
from humble beginnings, like we've talked about, but I think an interesting aspect of that is just not really understanding the depth of his power or how crucial he's going to be to humanity's future and the fate of humanity. Throughout the game, you're going to uncover the reasons behind June's extraordinary abilities. So there's definitely an unsuspecting hero element to his personality that goes with that. And like many leading characters that find themselves on this kind of hero's journey, her abilities and confidence
Hey,
are going
there's
to
the bear I'm talking
evolve
about.
as she ventures along in the
If you've
game.
seen the
We like
show,
to
you know
think
what I'm
June
talking
never
about.
loses
Listen to the
humanity
comments if
and the
you've seen it,
flaws that
please.
make her relatable.
Can't
And
think
so
of the name.
ultimately, we really want that to resonate with players as being somebody that they want to be as a player and can represent them in the game.
I think all of those things. We want it to feel
Okay, cool.
cinematic. We want it to feel really strategic. Maybe taking a step back, one of the inspirations we sort of talked about that we mimicked in our combat loop was, you know, if you look at your favorite sci-fi movies, they kind of have this like infiltration trope. You're kind of always fighting against these enormous odds, so you can't just engage the enemy head on. If you think about in like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's kind of hiding around when he's trying to rescue Princess Leia. They're wading through garbage. They're you know, dressed up as stormtroopers at one point. If you sort of think about that trope and then you sort of map it out, it sort of equates to like this observe, plan, execute, and then what we jokingly refer to as the oh shit moment, you know? So
Where's
you
the
sort of
bear
scope
again?
things out and you plot this
You know what I'm talking
great,
about, the
glorious
show.
way you're going to
Listen
go
to the
about
comments,
solving the
please.
puzzle. And then inevitably you start
like, I wanna
executing
know
it and
the name
someone
of it so
spots
bad
you,
right now.
and then that's when sort of you have to improvise or whatnot. But that's sort of the model we use for combat. Not every encounter you play in the game is going to play out like that. But we really love that notion of like leaning into the player choice and some agency and how you do things and just kind of like the spectacle of it as well.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that aspect of combat being another expression of player choice. And the things Chris was just referring to with what the team has built, like the tools and the elements that you have to solve some of these encounters that you're going to discover in the game, we think are going to give you a lot of choice as a player. And we want players to have ownership of that and feel good in that tension over like, how do I solve this one? How do I want to approach this one? and just give them their choice and treat each encounter as if it's their own.
Yeah, I guess we've talked about this a little bit in some of the other questions today. But so when you start playing, you're kind of fighting more basic enemies. You're on Leiden, it's more human factions. We do have this concept of celestial constructs. I don't know if we've talked about it before on these, but these are celestial robots that have been left behind to sort of defend technology. So at the start of the game, though, before you get your spaceship, that's kind of the primary factions you're fighting and the technology you're up against. Once you get your spaceship and travel into space, though, the further out you go, the more dangerous and progressively
that's
more
cool.
deadly the
I like
enemies
that.
get.
We've also talked a bit about the rot in the game, and just a quick recap for those who haven't followed along previously. The rot is this sort of unseen force that's affecting technology on your home planet and ultimately corrupting sort of the terraforming engines that are making Leiden a habitable place for humans. And so trying to develop an understanding of how the rot affects humanity and planets and everything in the universe is a key part of the story, but it also affects our enemies.
Yeah, basically the rot's sort of corrupting everything. It's destroying the technology that's keeping Leiden alive. So when you go on Exodus and come back, this is something that basically corrupts all the celestial constructs that I was sort of alluding to. And so suddenly those become much more dangerous, more aggressive, and that just keeps ratcheting up as time goes on.
Hope so.
Side quests in Exodus are not filler content. They're
Awesome.
critical to us for a bunch of reasons. Ultimately, to deliver on our story goals for the game, we think side quests are really
That's how any game should be made. Side quests. They shouldn't be filler content. They should be to flesh out the story. If like in this game, if there's companions, it should be, missions with your companions. You've got how it was done in Mass Effect. You had certain missions where you went on with a certain member of your crew, a certain companion, and there's companions you like and you dislike, but you got to go on the missions with all of them. I'm glad they are doing side, content, side quests. This is part of the main story. That's cool. Or trying to flesh out the main story, I think he said.
key part of that. We use them to help players feel connected to the universe, help develop relationships with their companions,
Awesome.
buff up their skills, and of course to find some cool shit when they're out exploring in the world.
The reason I love the side quests is there may be threads, stories, companion characters that not all players resonate with. So it gives another avenue of, if you want to learn more about this thing, if you want to really opt in and upgrade some of your tools, if you really like this one companion, you can kind of help them out a bit deeper. So I think that's why I enjoy our side quests.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately as a role-playing game, we value that kind of depth that you can explore and dive into deeper to get more lore, more cool stuff, all the things that you want to find in a game of some depth as an RPG. So one of our most asked
Collector's
questions,
edition?
when can I wishlist Exodus?
Oh, okay.
Guess
no.
what? I'm finally get to answer this question today.
Let me guess,
I'm
right
thrilled to
now.
say that you can wishlist Exodus now on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam,
Whatever they
and the
say,
Epic
all
Games
that,
Store.
that's what's
In addition to
coming
that, if you
now.
go to one of those sites, you're going to see some new key art and some new exciting stuff that reveals
I'll be interested
game
to see the new
screenshots and
art.
other cool things about the game. So please go wishlist Exodus now.
Thanks for all the great questions, everyone. We've been super heads down making something amazing. We've been busting our butts. We're super excited to share it with you. This has been super motivating for me. Thanks for having me on here, Chad.
We've also had a lot of other questions come in, particularly about gameplay, release date. We're eager to share more of what we're doing, and you can look for more news and updates later this year.
Okay.
Thanks again for connecting. We've enjoyed our session with you today, and we hope you appreciated our answers.
I
Talk
did.
to you all again soon.
Okay, so basically, I didn't give too much away, of course. They never do, but I'll say this. I'm very intrigued by this game. I think it is basically going to be our new RPG, f- space adventure, like Mass Effect was, back in the day. And I think it's really cool that it's not just this one. We also get the Owlcat, Expanse game that takes inspiration from Mass Effect. Maybe there will be, maybe there's another one coming, another RPG space game And maybe we're about to be in like the renaissance of old school, space RPGs like Mass Effect. I can't really think if there was any other ones, but I mean, Mass Effect's the one I could think of. But it would be awesome if there was, I mean, if just these two, the Expanse game and this game can take off and become trilogies, how cool would that be? To have two separate, you know, Mass Effect style games with trilogies coming out right now. That would be awesome. I may be hoping for a little bit too much there, but I definitely think if the game does well, it'll have a sequel. The Expanse game, I don't know, that could have just been a one-off that Owlcat is making. Who knows? But so this is going to be a 2026 game. I think the Owlcat game is going to be a 2026 game too. So, what are your most anticipated 2026 games? I mean, off the top of my head right now, you've got Wolverine, you've got Soros. Those are both PlayStation Studios games. You've got GTA 6, of course, the biggest one out there that's going to be coming out next year. You've got Crimson Desert, which I think is going to be a really cool game. You've got Exodus, and I think the Owlcat game comes out next year. Those are just six off the top of my head. I mean, with those games, I mean, just imagine how I mean, if those six games can hit, just those six alone, I mean, it's going to be a really good year. But I mean, think about all the stuff I'm not even talking about that's going to come out next year. I mean, next year could be a year like, was it 2024 or was it 2023? I think it was 2024 that was so stacked. Maybe 2026 will be the same way. That'd be really cool. Hopefully it is. But yeah, so that's it for tonight, guys. Peace out.